Hi, my name is Jay Lewis. I'm Assistant Dean in the School of Education and Director of Field Placement. And we're happy today to be hosting a webinar on the student teaching application process in the School of Education. And my colleague is also here.
I'm Joanne Flood, the Assistant Director of Field Placement.
So we'd like to walk you through a series of slides with some information and instructions on how to navigate yourself through this process. Even though it might seem a little bit daunting, quite honestly, all of you are far enough along in the process of becoming teachers so that we assure you that you will be able to complete this process without a huge amount of trouble. But we do want to give you an opportunity to see what it's all about before you have to experience it. Just a quick outline of the webinar so that you can get a sense of what we're going to be talking about. We'll talk a little bit about who the players are and where to find us when you need us in the process of arranging your field placement, requirements for student teaching, and then issues having to do with placement, policies, and options. We'll review an overview of a calendar, what happens and when, which is not specifically tied to a semester, but you'll get a sense of what the timeline is. We'll talk about the seminars and analysis classes that you're required to take while student teaching is going on. And then we'll finish the webinar with a little bit of information about interviews and provide a bit of a summary. Okay, first of all, in the Office of Field Placement, which is in Hagedorn Hall, you all know Hagedorn Hall, and we're in room 118, Office 118, and there are 4 people who are really key to this process, myself and Joanne, who's already introduced herself, and we have 2 administrative assistants in the office, Lillian Citrola and Lori Berman. In the Office of Certification, which is in a suite of offices several up from ours, Carlene Edwards is the Assistant Dean and Certification Officer, and Stacy Zalewski is basically your primary contact for certification issues. And Marianne Torres does a lot of work submitting information directly to the New York State Education Department. Also, career services is an integral part to the process of getting a job once you complete your student teaching experience. Suzanne Dagger is the School of Education's contact person in the Office of Career Services. She will help you with resume preparation, assist you in seeking employment, and I just want to point out that our resumes, and we'll work with you on the development of resumes, must be in a very specific format that we require. And one of the reasons for doing this is it limits the ability of school districts to compare one Hofstra student against another. We find that having a standard format serves Hofstra University and will serve you extremely well.
The requirements for student teaching, first of all, is the acceptance into the School of Education. You must be a matriculated student, and you must meet GPA requirements. Each major has a specific requirement. You can check with the bulletin if your major is not mentioned here, but briefly I will go over with SPED and TESOL. You need a 3.0. L-Ed, Secondary Ed, Art and Music, 2.75 for undergrads, 3.0 for grads. Physical Ed, 2.5 for undergrads, 3.0 for grads, and Health, 2.5 for undergrads, and 3.0 for grads.
I'll just jump in for 1 second here. I'm sure if you're looking at this webinar that you are seriously considering moving ahead with student teaching. Obviously, we do have students who don't really apply until they're really prepared to start thinking about it. So you need to make certain that that your GPA fits in with what Joanne just reviewed, and it's really important to say that we never make an exception about GPA requirements. All of our programs have very high standards, so if you do not have these minimum GPAs, then you will not be permitted to student teach until your GPA is equal to or exceeds these standards that are listed here. The application form that you will receive in the packet of information that you can pick up in the Office of Field Placement, actually right across the hall in the copy room, there are boxes of application forms and all kinds of other material having to do with the process of securing student teaching. They're all, I mean, everything that you need, essentially everything that you need to know is in that packet, and it's very specific. Your resume we need to have 2 copies of it typed. The absolute maximum is 1 page in length, and it has to be perfect. You know, it has to be carefully checked for spelling and grammar and usage. This is so important because resumes are seen by prospective employers, and from the standpoint of my former employment as a high school principal, you know, one of the first things that principals look at is the resume along with your letter of application. And if there are mistakes on it, then quite honestly, a lot of principals will just set that application aside. And your resume and letter of application will not be further considered. So I think it's really important that you take this very seriously.
The next step is your advisement record. You need to make an appointment with your advisor and go over your advisement record one more time to make sure you've completed all your program requirements. This is also known as your plan of studies. You should have at least met with your advisor twice. We have students that will hand in an advisement record and it was the first time they ever met with the advisor. You need to go back again, make sure you've completed all your program requirements, and they are going to sign off saying that you are ready to student teach in the semester that you have chosen. The next part would be the Degree Audit Report System, known as the DARS. This is for undergrads only. We need you to highlight your liberal arts GPA on the DARS report. You also need to make sure you've completed all your courses in your certification area. Again, your advisor will have that on your plan of studies, and if there is anything missing, she will let you know what you still need to take. Health records should be up to date. I always say this, if you're here at Hofstra, your health records are up to date. We don't need your personal health records handed in with your application. But what we do need is for you to be tested for TB. It must be done within 6 months of student teaching. Very simple. You can use the wellness center. You can go to your personal physician, have a TB test taken. They will then give you a letter or a script saying that you have taken the TB test and you have got a negative result, and you bring it to us. Schools will require this. If you are a teacher, this is something you will have to do on a yearly basis.
and it's very cost effective to do it in the Wellness Center here on campus. Only costs $15 to have your tuberculosis test done.
The next step is filling out the green or salmon student teaching placement card in your packet. It's exactly like the application, but we need you to fill it out completely. One of the things I'd like to point out about the placement card are a few things that we ask you. One is certification area. We need more than just saying you're a secondary education student. I need to know your specific area of interest, whether it's biology, Spanish, and so forth. The next is the semester year. This is the semester you're going to student teaching, not the semester you're filling this application out in. Everything else is pretty much self-explanatory, but if you have any issues on the back, whether it's transportation or any requests, we do have a spot that you can fill in any of the concerns there, and we will note it before we actually start placing you.
It's extremely important that all of your New York State teacher certification exams be completed obviously before you are slated to be to graduate. This is your responsibility to complete. No graduation will occur without the certification exams occurring. And there's a notation at the bottom of this slide about the submission of records. You must hand submit the records that we're talking about here. You can't fax them, you can't mail them. We check them off when you actually hand deliver them to the Office of Field Placement, and the submission log must be signed at that time. You are in control of making certain that your application, all of your application materials are submitted. If you do not submit the tuberculosis certification, then what happens is your whole process stops until that or any of the other requirements that have been reviewed are completed. There are 5 New York State certification seminars that you must complete prior to student teaching, and they're listed on this on this slide. A child abuse and maltreatment seminar, fire and arson prevention is the second one, school violence prevention and intervention seminar, prevention of alcohol, tobacco, and drug abuse, and a required seminar on highway and school safety and prevention of child abduction. Must be completed prior to graduation, and you can sign up for these seminars at the website listed here. And this information is also included in the packet that you'll pick up at the Office of Field Placement. Okay, working teacher application and internship requests. We do have a limited number of one-year-long paid internships for those students teaching in the fall. This is a paid internship, but usually requires a delay in graduation until the end of the second semester. Because in the fall you would do your traditional student teaching, and then in the spring you would be providing academic support to students at the school where you did your student teaching as a professional colleague. And the real purpose for school districts really wanting to have your services in this regard is to help better prepare students in the school for the spring assessments. And so you'll be working one-on-one or small, or you might also be working with small groups of students who have been identified as needing additional assistance prior to the spring assessments. This is really a very valuable gain of experience that sets you apart from those students with traditional student teaching only preparation, and you should see Dean Lewis for specific requirements and qualifications for this option. At the moment, we have teaching internships, year-long paid student teaching internships with 2 school districts on Long Island, one on the South Shore, the Belmore Merrick Central High School District, and on the North Shore, the North Shore School District.
Placements for student teaching. As I said before, the placement card will be used to assign you a field placement for student teaching. Again, you complete all the information. Make sure you indicate what your program is. I know we have specifically here, you should tell us whether you're early childhood program or dual early childhood program. On the secondary level, please give your specific subject area. Indicate districts in which you have observed for other courses. That would be all your observations over the last year and a half. Fill in your teaching course number, which you can find in the application booklet that we gave you. Indicate special needs or requests. This could be transportation issues, or it could be specific schools you're interested in, and we will take everything into consideration.
And we do know that there are some of you who will be student teaching who are already doing some coaching or have some responsibility in a school district already. We would not place you in that school district, but we would certainly work to place you in a contiguous school district, a district very nearby, if you already have some work such as coaching. And we certainly want you to know that you should not plan on having a full-time or even a significant part-time job during student teaching. As I'm sure you're beginning to get a sense of through all of your conversations up to this point, being a student teacher is really a full-time plus endeavor.
In placing you, there are a few things we do take into consideration. One is where you are currently residing, the school district you're currently residing, and second, where you graduate, what district you graduated from. We normally do not place you in these 2 districts. Every student must have a field placement in a high needs district. This should have been satisfied during observation. However, if it has not, one of your placements will be in a high needs school district. Transportation is the responsibility of each student teacher. We cannot provide transportation for you. So I know over the semesters some of you have had trouble with that and asked to be placed as close to Hofstra as possible. We are very limited to those placements. So you might want to start thinking about how you're going to get back and forth to your student teaching placement, and whether you might need a car at this point to help you out.
Requests for change of placement or change of supervisor will be considered on an individual basis by myself. Obviously, there are marriages made in heaven, and there are arranged marriages out there. You need to be aware of the fact that there'll be many instances in your career where you're going to have to work with people who present challenges to you. And we really encourage you to do the very best you can to capitalize on the placement that you are originally assigned. However, we also are fully aware of the fact that it is very important for you to have a strong working bond with your cooperating teacher and with your supervisor. So if there are issues that need to be discussed with respect to a change in a placement or a supervisor, then we certainly want to have a conversation with you, and we would encourage you to come in and talk about what the issues are. Just a reminder that student teaching is full-time, as I've already referred to, for a full semester. Don't plan on doing very much during that semester other than lesson plan development, working with your cooperating teacher, and all of the things that go with essentially, by the end of the semester, being a full-time teacher. Occasionally, we reserve the right to extend your student-teacher placement in order to for you to meet the program standards. You might wonder, well, how many students does this happen with? A very small percentage, 1 to 3% at the most. And it's really important to say here that this is not a punitive thing. If we all decide that you need some additional time in order to make certain that your experience accomplishes what we need it to accomplish, then we need to view such an extension as a supportive arrangement to help you to be able to really make certain that you are able to have a completely quality experience.
Placement options. Most of you will be placed in the Long Island school districts. Depending on what address you put down on the card, we will try to place you as close to your home or address you're residing at. But we suggest that you might try a couple of other placements or request placements in the New York City area. They are great schools, a lot of opportunities in the New York City school system, so don't shy away from traveling a little bit. And like I said, if you would like to teach in New York City, please indicate that on your placement card, and we'll see what we can do for you.
There are also some limited options for student teaching outside of the New York City metropolitan area. For example, if you're from out of the area and you would like to return to your home area someplace else in the state, and you're going to move back there after graduation, then that might be a reason why you would ask us to look at the possibility of helping to arrange your student teaching out of the area. We minimally need to know that you're interested in doing this a full year in advance, because one of the things that we have to do under these circumstances is to work with another higher education institution near to your placement area for the supervision of your student teaching experience. Not to be intentionally negative, but we certainly do not recommend this as anything related to a normal option, because quite frankly, if you do this, do student teaching outside of the area, all of your support systems that we can provide you at Hofstra, because we know you well and because we've worked with you, are very difficult to replicate anywhere else. All right, now we'd like to talk for a few minutes about the calendar, what happens and when.
Okay, the student teaching applications for the spring are due between May 1st and September 15th. Student teaching applications for the fall are due between September 15th and February 15th. You will receive a checklist for what is missing from your application.
And it's important to add here that the dates here are absolutely firm. And it's important for you to know that the sooner your applications are submitted in full, the sooner the placement will occur, and applications are processed, and students are placed on a first-come, first-served rolling basis. So the sooner you get your application materials back to us, the sooner we can proceed with your placement, and it is to your benefit for us to make certain that we work hard on placing students as the applications get in. So if yours gets in first, we work on yours first. We are not able to honor requests or guarantee placement on Long Island for late applicants. Student teaching applications, as I indicated, are processed in the order in which they're received.
You will receive your placement assignment at the end of the semester preceding student teaching. You should, once you receive the placement assignment, you should immediately call the contact that we gave you on your placement assignment and set up an interview. I will note that not all schools will interview you. Some will tell you that they will contact you in a couple of months or a couple of weeks before student teaching is to start and give you specific information. Every school district is different, so don't worry about a friend of what they are getting and what you're not getting. Every district is different. Orientation is always the Thursday preceding the start of the semester. This is a mandatory orientation that runs from 10:30 in the morning till 4:30 in the afternoon. The only way you can not attend the orientation, you would need prior approval from Dean Lewis. Absences from student teaching must be made up. And you should not plan any vacation during your student teaching time because the vacation schedules are different for the schools and Hofstra's calendar. As Dean Lewis had said, we reserve the right to extend your student teaching placement. Please do not, again, make vacation plans during this time.
And just a quick comment about summer student teaching for SPED, TESOL, and working teachers seeking a second certification. Those placements occur between July 1st through mid-August in places in the region that have summer programs. Orientations are announced usually late in June, and those applications follow the fall schedule for submission that you saw a few slides before.
Some of the majors require an analysis class, but all require a seminar. Seminar is when you will meet with your supervisor on a weekly basis. Analysis are for certain certification areas, and this sheet will tell you exactly who will be having an analysis class and also when you will be meeting with your supervisor. What it comes down to is 1 day a week you will be student teaching for a half a day. You will then leave school and come to Hofstra for your seminar and or analysis class. I do want to specify that the dates and times that you will see in your application packet are subject to change, but this is basically how it works. An example is ESL would meet on Wednesdays with their supervisor, but they don't have an analysis class. Same with speech, special ed, health, and phys ed. Obviously all different days for seminar, but these certification areas do not have an analysis class.
Now, when we're talking about your interview for student teaching, you should consider it to be just like a regular interview. Extremely important for you to dress professionally and carry yourself in a very professional manner. Be well groomed and reflect a sense of self-confidence when for your interview. Make eye contact and really show your enthusiasm for teaching, for your subject, and most of all for working with youngsters, with students. Anybody who will be interviewing you for student teaching is looking for that spark in you that has made you decide that teaching is what you want to do. And the more passion and the more enthusiasm that you show in your interview for student teaching, the more effective your interview will be, and the more likely it is for them to endorse your student teaching in that school. And be prepared to discuss your background and the courses that you have taken, and maybe have some anecdotal things that you can share with respect to this. Your philosophy of education is definitely something that you should be able to articulate clearly and be able to talk easily about, and not have it seem as if you're laboring through some dogma. It's really important that you be able to relate this easily. And be prepared to talk about a lesson or a unit that you planned and taught. Talk about the things that you learned from teaching that lesson. And it's always important to be reflective with respect to any lesson that you've already taught, and talk about the things that you might change the second time through. It's also extremely important that you familiarize yourself with the school district the school and the school district prior to your interview. There's all kinds of online information about school districts that you can Google. You can go to the New York State Education Department website and look up test results and familiarize yourself with some of the demographics that exist in the district. People who will be interviewing you will be impressed if you can talk with some degree of knowledge about their district. So, in closing, before we talk a little bit about some commonly, frequently asked questions, we should just let you know that during your student teaching, everything comes together in the classroom, in the field. All of that theory that you've been reading and discussing, all the practice that you have done in your classes at Hofstra, in field placement, participant observer sites, all of the things that you've done to date come together and as the phrase here indicates, converges in the field, in your classroom. And it's quite an important thing to begin to think about even now as you're looking at this webinar, how you will make a transition from student status to professional status. The minute you walk into the school where you will be doing your student teacher, your role changes from being a student to being a professional. And that's a bit of an adjustment, and you'll need to think about that and to sort of plan out in your own head on a day-to-day basis, and before you arrive in the school, how you will be dealing with that, because it's extremely important. And one area that is extremely important along those lines is, particularly with your cooperating teacher, you should not be viewing yourself as a student. You should be viewing yourself as a professional colleague. The only difference, and you shouldn't be thinking about this on a day-to-day basis, is that at the moment, for almost all of you, you're not paid and the teacher is. But other than that, you are on equal ground, and we are very confident that the cooperating teachers that we place you with, that we have vetted and that we have worked with in many cases for a long time, will treat you as a professional colleague and give you a lot of practice into what that means. And finally, as I referred to a few minutes ago, the power of reflection and being open to new experiences taking good, solid, educated risks and a desire to grow is what truly makes for the stage to be set for you to become a teacher of excellence and perhaps someday down the line, a master teacher. The teachers who are most willing to question what they do and the results and how every lesson and every contact with a student and a colleague feels, and make changes on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month, and eventually year-to-year basis. Those are the teachers that every school district and every independent and parochial school out there is looking for, are people who are open to new experiences, take good risks, and want to grow and become better. So we wish you good luck, and you have our full support. You should view the Office of Field Placement as full of your professional colleagues and friends. We want to hear about your struggles and about your successes, and we are very confident that the experience that you'll be having as a student teacher will truly prepare you for the field. One of the great things about Hofstra field experiences is the fact that they're very clinically rich. They're very embedded with the theory and the practice that you've been talking about and learning about over the last several years, and we know that you will be successful. Now, before we end the webinar today, what we'd like to do is Joanne's going to give you a quick summary of a few key points, and then we're going to just pose a few questions that consistently come up as students in the past have prepared for their student teaching experience, and we want you to feel free to recognize that not all the questions will be asked or answered, and that we'd like to hear from you if there's additional information that you might need.
Okay, I'd like to summarize one more time what is needed to be handed in when you apply for student teaching. First of all, the application, which you can find on page 16 of the application handbook that is included in your packet, the green placement card for undergrads or the salmon-colored card for grads completely filled out, your plan of studies, also known as your advisement sheet from your advisor. It must be completely filled out, approved, and signed by your advisor. Proof of fingerprinting. At this point, everyone should be fingerprinted, and you can print out this receipt or status from your Teach Online account. There are instructions in the packet that show you how to do this. We would like 2 copies of your resume. Try to keep it to 1 page. Follow the format that's in the application packet. You can do it on plain white paper because we always fax these resumes over to the school district. Please gear it towards education, and if you have any questions about that, again, you can go to the Career Center or you can come into us and we'll look it over for you. We need 1 unofficial copy of your latest transcript, and again, I'd like to say unofficial. You don't have to go to the expense of getting an official transcript. And we also provide you with 2 envelopes. Please address them to yourself at the address that you want to receive any communication from us. Now these 7 components must be handed in together. The only thing we will wait on is the proof of TB, because we are asking for these applications way in advance. But you must have the TB clearance before orientation. But the other 7 components, if anything is missing, we will hand you back the application until you can complete whatever is missing. And again, like Dean Lewis mentioned before, the sooner you get your application in, the sooner we can get it approved and start placing you for your student teaching semester. The next thing, over the last couple of semesters, I get frequently asked questions. And the big one is, what happens when you hand in your application? Well, the first thing is we have to approve it. We check your transcript. We make sure you've met all your program requirements. And once that is done, we fill out a checklist that everyone receives. And on this checklist, it's going to say whether you've been approved or not, whether you've been denied, or if you've been conditionally approved. One of the things it will say for everyone and is checked off is the grade section and the grades from the end of this semester, January or summer. We want you to bring an updated transcript to your student teaching orientation. That doesn't mean you have to hand it in now. It's when you go to orientation we want a new transcript, unofficial. If anything else is checked off on this sheet, I will also indicate how it's going to affect us placing you for student teaching. Denials would have to do with GPAs. And, well, basically, the GPA issue is the one that for denials. Now, incompletes. Incompletes must be resolved before student teaching. We will list on this sheet what courses we are referring to, and it's just before student teaching we will reevaluate your application or your transcript to make sure you have satisfied all your incompletes. Again, this will be indicated on which courses are indicated on this sheet, and you are then approved with conditions. If you do not meet these conditions, we have the right to pull your placement and you will not student teach for that semester. The other questions I have had in the past is, do we need to register for student teaching, or does field placement do this for us? You must register like any other course for student teaching. You can go to the application booklet and you will find the course numbers on pages 10 and 12. We ask that you register as soon as Hofstra's registration starts for the semester we are referring to. And it helps us keep track of all our student teachers if you register sooner than just before the start of the semester. Another question that is asked, does the school know I need to leave early 1 day a week? Yes, they do, but you might have to remind them.
And this is for your seminars or your
right, the
analysis class, right?
The 1 day you're required to be here at Hofstra. So you give yourself enough time for transportation. You just let the cooperating teacher know that, say it's a Thursday, that you'll be leaving at 12 o'clock to go to Hofstra to meet with your supervisor and your analysis course. You should have no problem with this with the school. Another couple of questions is, who do I notify if I have an emergency or if I'm sick? The first people you're going to notify will be your cooperating teacher and the school. Please do so as early as possible. The next person you should notify would be your supervisor, so they can keep track of any days that you have not shown up for student teaching. And again, personal days you must make up, and you must have prior approval. And I have to say, it's very few instances we will give an approval for you to take a personal day from student teaching. I'd like to go over issues also. We have found that some students have issues in their placement, whether it's with the cooperating teacher, whether they're having a problem with something with student teaching, also with the supervisor. We ask that you do not wait to bring it to our attention. The sooner you let us know if you're having any kind of problems, the sooner we can rectify it for you. So please feel free to contact Dean Lewis and myself at any time if you are having any issues. The next thing, when should I expect to hear about the approval? You will hand in your application. We will approve it. The first thing you'll receive in the mail is the check-off list, like I explained before. At that point, we place you out to school districts. Some school districts answer us immediately. Others take their time, and then others reject a placement. Do not take this personally. It could be they just don't have a cooperating teacher available for you for that semester. So then we must place you out again. Once we do get a placement, we will notify you again by mail, and it will tell you who to contact. Please, again, like we said before, you must make contact with the school district right away so they know that you are still interested in student teaching. After that, the next time we will meet is at orientation, where at that time you will be given your supervisor assignment. For the most part, that's all I can think of that's usually on every student teacher's mind, but if you do have any questions, please feel free to contact us. We will help you with the application. We'll answer any questions you might have about the experience and the placement.
And we truly look forward to working with you, and we are absolutely dedicated to helping you to have a fantastic student teaching experience, which hopefully will be the precursor to a great career as a teacher.